Well, if you're anything like me, you've waited all year for the release of Nosferatu. And leading up to it, the hype for this movie was at a fever pitch. Is it at all possible that Robert Eggers could deliver one of the greatest horror movies in recent years? The answer? Yes.
I'm ready.
Hey, what's up everybody? Nick here, and today I want to give you guys my review for Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Now, I just want to let you guys know starting off that this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'm not going to get into spoilers. I know this came out on Christmas Day, and this is a busy week for a lot of people, so if you haven't had a chance to see the movie yet, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You can watch this video. Now, look, Robert Eggers is a very interesting filmmaker for me because I absolutely loved The Witch, but I found The Lighthouse, while technically gorgeous, to be really weird and not all that linear in its storytelling, and I walked away from that movie feeling very conflicted. Robert Eggers is a guy that clearly has a really good eye. He knows how to direct, he knows how to get great performances, and he knows how to build dread and atmosphere. So going into Nosferatu, I was actually pretty confident that he was going to deliver a good movie because all the pieces were there. We have a great cast here, and I've got to first give shout-outs to the cast. Willem Dafoe bodies this role. Absolutely phenomenal job. He may be the standout in this movie. Nicholas Hoult, look, I've seen him in a lot of stuff. I mean, Warm Bodies, Renfield. He's been great in everything he's done, or at least just good. In this movie, it's another level. This is easily the greatest performance he has ever given, in my opinion. Then we've got Lily Rose Depp, and while I'm not really familiar with her work, she was really good in this movie, especially with a lot of the body acting that she had to do and the facial acting. In the beginning of the movie, I was like, I don't know about her, and by the end, I was like, I'm totally sold on her. Then the next one you've got to talk about is Bill Skarsgård. And look, guys, I've seen It and It Chapter 2 probably a dozen times, so I'm very familiar with his eyes, I'm very familiar with the way he speaks, so I could see bits of Bill Skarsgård in this performance. But let me just tell you, if you're not super familiar with him, he is almost unrecognizable in the prosthetics. Like, it doesn't look like Bill Skarsgård. And the voice he has as Count Orlok is like legendary. I think the things he says, the way he delivers lines, the way he carries himself, he is phenomenal in this role. And it's crazy to me that we haven't seen Bill Skarsgård do more like this, especially after the success of It, because he nailed it again here. And honestly, I want to see him do more performances like this because he is just great in these types of roles. And I've got to say, this isn't a spoiler, but if you're worried that this is going to be one of those movies like The Witch where everything happens at the end and nothing else happens in between, I'm happy to say this movie is not that way at all. You get a lot of the vampire and you get a lot of action throughout this movie. Now, true to form for Robert Eggers, the atmosphere and visuals in this movie are absolutely on point. This movie absolutely feels like it takes place in the 1800s. He nails the period perfectly, and Robert Eggers has always done that. I had no doubt that he was going to do that this time too. But the movie is photographed so gorgeously that these night scenes, and the movie is full of them, are just breathtaking. And some of the visuals are haunting. We've all seen the moment in the trailer where Count Orlok's hand is going over the town. It's great in this movie. And they do so much with shadow play throughout this movie that just had me like foaming at the mouth. Like I was just sitting in the theater going, this is awesome. Look, I've just got to give a shout out to the mood, the atmosphere. It's all there. The suspense, the dread, the foreboding, the shadow that he casts over this entire movie throughout its 2-hour runtime, it's just ever present. And I think if you're going to make a movie like this work and you're going to sell it to people, that has to happen. And I'm happy to say that Robert Eggers nails it again. Look, Nosferatu is not going to be a movie for everybody. And what I mean by that is, although there are moments of action and horror interspersed throughout this movie, it is a lot of talking. It is a lot of story. It is very plot driven. Now, for someone like me, that can be boring sometimes if you're not really giving me a lot to chew on. And this movie does that. Everything that it's setting up pays off in the end. And even during the talky scenes, they're a visual delight. There's always something going on. And I implore you guys, if you have not seen this movie yet, Pay attention when you're watching it. Look around. I want you to not just focus on whoever is front and center in the camera, because there is a lot of moments in this movie where things are happening in the background or things are being alluded to. The camera work is phenomenal. And I just really think that the visual flair this movie has makes it not boring. And again, everything it's setting up pays off. And I feel like that is important. Look, I understand if somebody says this movie was just not for them. They felt it was too slow, felt like it didn't do enough until the very end of the movie. I totally get it. I would disagree, but I totally get why some may feel that way. I saw this with my family, and my older brother fell asleep like 3 times. Okay, so it's not going to be for everyone. But when I tell you guys that this is Robert Eggers' magnum opus, I mean it. From performances to script to visuals to everything. I mean, absolutely everything. This is the greatest film he's ever made. It may not be your favorite of his, and I understand that, but I think it is easily the greatest film he's ever made. Now, this is really hard because in summation, like, is this my favorite movie of the year? I don't know. I'm going to watch The First Omen one more time before the end of the year and before I do my top 10 of the year list, because I really want to compare this to Nosferatu. But I have to tell you guys, I give Nosferatu the highest of recommends. There is not a moment. My brother asked me in the car on the way back, is there anything that you can think of while watching it that you would have done differently, that you didn't like? And my exact quote to him was, at no point during that movie did I sit there and go, I wish they would have done this. And I mean that. Now, that's not to say that this is the greatest movie ever made. That's not what I'm saying. But if I can walk out of a movie and not think of a single complaint, I just don't know how I can give it anything other than the highest of recommends. So guys, Nosferatu is 5 out of 5 in my opinion. It delivers on everything. And if you are a fan of old school horror, black and white horror, silent films even, I think you are going to eat this up. But I want to hear down below what you guys thought of Nosferatu. Am I hyping this thing up way too heavily? Or am I right on the mark? Or am I underselling it? Whatever it may be, I want to hear down below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please leave a like on it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I'm pulling out.